Hi, I've been very interested in hearing your ideas about the economy and about the NHS, but in the back of my mind is a concern that if you don't recognise women as adult human females, we will always be on a back foot to all of these benefits that you say that you can bring to Scotland. It's been almost a year since the Supreme Court ruling said that women and man and sex were a biological, and yet we've watched a Labour government in the UK and the SNP government in Scotland not implement that in their public services. What would you do?
I'm very proud that the Conservatives stood up against the Gender Recognition Reform Bill, and we are very clear that the Supreme Court judgment is absolutely clear-cut and is the settled law and needs to be applied right across Scotland. And single-sex spaces for women should be protected. But, you know, there's a new fight coming because in the very last session of Parliament just last week, John Swinney stood up and committed the SNP to an inclusive ban on conversion therapy. Now, if people are subject to torture or coercion, clearly that needs to stop. But the real worry is that this ban could end up seeing the parents of gender-confused children who don't then immediately encourage them down the route of transition being treated as criminals. And that is deeply harmful and unacceptable. And I'm very clear, as Conservatives, we will oppose that because it is the wrong move to make. We should be defending the rights of parents and defending the rights of women and girls to their own spaces.
In relation to the other question, look, let's acknowledge we're not likely to agree on this, and respectfully, we can have that disagreement. My background as an LGBT person, somebody who's been part of that community for many decades, is what I see in the stigmatization and demonization of transgender people at the moment is very similar to the homophobia of the 1980s and 90s. Transgender people are not a threat to anybody else's life or their ability to have a good life. Yeah, and I believe, and in fact the women's network of my party believes very strongly in an inclusive intersectional understanding of feminism and of misogyny, and that includes transgender women as well. And I think that much of the opinion polling in Scotland and the UK shows not only that that's a majority position, but actually that women in the population as a whole are more trans-inclusive than the rest of the population on average. I'm very pleased about that, and I think it's another aspect of the culture war politics that I was talking about earlier, which we need to be able to have the courage to confront.
The Scottish Government absolutely accepts the Supreme Court ruling. We accept its... No, if I can just finish the question. We accept the ruling. We have a responsibility to balance the human rights of everybody in Scotland, absolutely of women, but also of trans people. Trans people exist. And I think if we take our guidance from the Supreme Court ruling, whilst it was absolutely clear and we accept it, it also said that we ought not to see this as a victory of someone's rights over another. And as a responsible government who believes in human rights, we will implement the judgment. There's a series of public documents I could point to where we've updated our guidance. We'll continue to do that, but we will always balance the human rights of everybody in our country, as we do across a number of other things. Think about people's right to protest versus people's right to be protected from certain things that they would find offensive. Human rights are availed to us on account of being human, and governments have to balance them for everybody.
So I was a member of the Scotland office in the previous government with Alistair Jack when he was Secretary of State, and it was he and I that took the decision to block the Gender Recognition Act from Holyrood.
Shame.
And here's the thing, that over 25 years of devolution, there's been something like 246 bills passed by the Scottish Parliament, all of which have been given royal assent by Westminster, because that's the way the system works. But there is a veto, it's called Section 35, and we pushed that veto. The first time only it's been used in 25 years, we pushed it because we didn't feel that bill gave security and safety to women and girls. Simple as that. And then we went to the Supreme Court and we won in the Supreme Court. So I'm very clear on this issue that we will absolutely back the Supreme Court, absolutely secure spaces, safe spaces for women and girls. We need to do that, and we should respect the law as quickly as possible.
I hope it doesn't end up in a place where people don't feel comfortable using the toilet. Right now, the biggest threat to women in our society is not trans people, it is predatory men. Trans people... Trans people are real and they deserve human rights, and women are real and they deserve human rights. These two propositions are not incompatible.
Okay, I know